Sup everybody, it's Beck and I'm back, and I just wanted to let everyone know how my vipassana 10-day silent course went. I decided to go to the one that's closest to me, which is outside of Rockford, Illinois. It's called Dhamma Pakasa, and you can go to dhamma.org to find all the centers. I believe there's about 13 here in the United States and then a bunch all across the world, so lots of options. It is free to attend. You don't have to pay anything up front. It's donation based. It's open to everyone. It's basically like one of those amazing things that exist in the universe where you can just go and really like get into this technique of meditation, really give it a trial, a fair trial, and try it out for yourself and see how it affects you. For me, it was a very transformational experience. It was something that I deeply needed on a soul level to do. I have been working towards it for about a year, learning how to meditate in a chair, and then I've been going to Queer Dharma at the Shambhala Center in Chicago and learning to meditate on a cushion there, but also mostly sitting in a chair. So this experience going to Vipassana was really about me learning to sit on a cushion for an extended period of time. This was the longest I had ever meditated. So 1 full hour, just complete silence and doing this specific technique. And every single day you learn a different part of the technique. It starts small and just kind of gradually builds until the last day. It is a silent retreat, so you are practicing noble silence. I personally, as a neurodivergent person, talk to myself, so I did talk to myself. I don't know if that's not supposed to be part of it either, but I am an external processor, so I found myself talking to myself a lot. But you're just supposed to kind of like keep your head down and not like really make eye contact with anyone. You can talk to your assistant teachers and the teacher of your group, so they do split it by men and women. I put on my application trans, mass, non-binary, and that I would like to be on the male side because the female side said there was a wait list, so, and I couldn't even apply. So I just said, okay, I'll do the male side because I was open to either. Now, recently, I've actually discovered that I am non-binary and just comfortable with that. Not so much, I consider myself trans because it was a transition to get here, but not in a way, at least right now, of any further transitioning being of interest to me. But I was really excited to get this experience to be amongst guys in this environment. I made some great guy friends, and it was just something that was really nice to be immersed in. So I really enjoyed it. They were open to it too, which was great. They've had other trans people come in the past, so I think it's really important to share this because I want more neurodivergent and queer people to feel comfortable going into spaces like this to learn this beautiful technique because it's for everybody. And I was just going to kind of explain the general timetable of like how a daily schedule would be. So since I was signed up and I told them I was trans, they put me in my own like special like cabin that was near one of the managers, which was really nice because I had like my own private space. But they do have a dormitory where it's split by men and women. And in the dormitory, I think they have like kind of like a speaker system where they ring a gong every morning at 4 a.m. to like wake you up, so you can hear it in there. I couldn't hear it, but I did have an alarm clock that I would set, and everything was fine with that. And they do have a lot of like stuff usually that you can borrow. Like the alarm clock was already in the room. They usually have in the dorms like bedding and cushions and toiletries and whatever other supplies you might need. And then if there's something that you do need that you forgot or you're traveling light, the assistant teacher, you can always ask them for certain things. So it's not like you can't talk to anybody and you're just like on your own. So they do have those options. So after 4 a.m., there is meditation in the meditation hall from 4:30 to 6:30. I did go the first day and then I think maybe the last few days, but I started going at like 5:30 to 6:30 to just do an hour sit because my body was really adjusting to like sitting for that long and being in meditation for that long, and there was just a lot of energy flowing out of me and body aches and pains and things that I was really pushing through. And they do recommend following the timetable, the schedule, as closely as possible. But if you are in a more laid back center like this one, there's a lot of like leniency and room to just kind of do what feels right for you and your body. So I would sleep in a lot of the days until breakfast. So I would get up at like 6 and breakfast is at 6:30. But it is recommended to just, really stick to the schedule as much as you can. So 4:30 to 6:30, you would meditate in the hall or in your room, ideally. And some centers might have you have your door open so that they know that everyone's like meditating, but we didn't have anyone checking up on us. So if you were still sleeping, no one was like knocking on your door and being like, hey, are you meditating? But who knows? It could happen at another center. I'm not sure. And then from 6:30 to 7:15, you'd have breakfast, and that was like oatmeal, toast, cereal. They had like tea that I drank at every meal, juice, like all kinds of different options. They had a lot of fruit, like apples, bananas, oranges. So there was a lot of readily available things that are easy to eat that early. And then from 7:15 to 8, you have like a little bit of break time. And then from 8 to 9, you have a mandatory sit with the whole group. So you have to sit for that full hour. And within the first few days, they allow you to like leave the space if you need to get up and like stretch or go to the bathroom or get some water, or like you're coughing or you're whatever. But then as the days go on, they do want you to like sit that entire hour and just like not move and change postures. But if you absolutely have to, you can. It's not like you're not allowed to move at all. Like there was one day I was using the bench because they have benches and cushions and different things you can use and props. They also have like these back jacks, which are like chairs for the floor, which I ended up using on and off as well. Everyone would like get their system together of like what worked for them. But like my knees were hurting after a while from using the bench. So like I would just have to switch sometimes to sitting on like a cushion from kneeling. So it's totally like fine to do that, but keeping silence and being like as aware of other people around you as much as possible to not be distracting is really encouraged. So after the 8 to 9 meditation, they have another meditation slot from 9 to 11, and you can usually go back to your room. If you're a new student, they're going to usually have the teacher is going to call you and kind of check in with how you're doing with the new version of the technique that you've learned, and see if you have any like struggles going on, or just generally letting you know that like how's it going, basically. How's it going right now with this part. And then after that, they would let you go back to your residence or meditate in the hall. And then lunch is from 11 to like 11:45. And that would be like your main meal for the day. And it was vegetarian, usually in Indian cuisine of some kind. It was super good. I really enjoyed like all of the food. It was really good. And they would always have like a nice big salad that you can have. And then sometimes they would even have like desserts. They had these coconut macaroons that were like dipped in chocolate, which were so good. And on the last day, they made like those like protein balls, but they were like chocolate, like gooey. They were like kind of like a brownie almost, like unbaked brownie, and then they were like rolled in sesame seeds. They were really amazing. So the food was great, ate really well. Chickpea curry was probably my favorite dish. There is a lot of rice. Some days there were like more American things, like we even had like mac and cheese and pasta. So really great options and lots of variety, I would say. And after lunch, you would get like rest time from 12 to 1. So you could go and walk the grounds. I usually ended up taking a nap low-key. You're not really supposed to nap, but that was just what, like going from sleeping in every day to like 10 or 11 to having to get up at like 4 to 6:30. I was able to adapt pretty quickly, because whenever I have a structured schedule that I need to follow and people are keeping me accountable, it's easy for me to follow. But you know, I was still tired from like not being used to getting such little sleep. And usually the nighttime meditation would kind of wake me up. So I would actually have issues falling asleep at night, even though I really wanted to go to sleep. It's like I was so tired that I couldn't. So the napping probably didn't help with that, but I didn't nap every day, which was great. I tried to not as much as possible. And then from 1 to 2:30, you could meditate in your room or in the hall again. And sometimes I would just still be kind of relaxing at this point. And then I would go to the group meditation 2:30 to 3:30, and then they'd have another slot of 3:30 to 5 where you could meditate in the hall or in your room. And then they have tea at 5 to like 5:30, and that's like also afterwards there's time for rest until 6. So if you're a new student, you can have fruit during tea time, but if you're an old student, you're just supposed to eat or drink tea, and that would be it. So it's just like another like relaxing time in the dining hall. And then from 6 to 7, there would be another group meditation. And from like 7 to 8:15, 8:30, they would play a teacher's discourse, which is the guy who recorded all of his teachings of this technique, Goenka. And he would just discuss like where you're at in the course and how things are going and what we can kind of expect and what we're working on, and just a lot of insights. I would call it like movie night, like where's the popcorn. It was actually like one of my favorite things about the day. By the end, I really enjoyed the discourses a lot. And while you're meditating too, we also listen to Goenka. He does chants and brings you out of meditation. So there's a lot of audio and listening as well. So it's not completely silent the entire time, which is also great because you'd be kind of waiting sometimes to like have his chanting come up. And you're like, okay, we're almost done. And it'd be like the last 5 minutes of meditation. And then from 8:15, 8:30-ish to 9, you'd have more meditating as a group. So it's like 45 minutes to 30 to 45 minutes, which was like really quick feeling compared to an hour. And in between each meditation slot, when there's like, especially back to back, they would always have like a 10-minute break. So you could stretch, go on a quick like little walk, get water, go to the bathroom, stuff like that. So there's always like time in between. And then after that, you're done meditating for the day. From 9 to 9:30, they do allow you to ask more questions to the teacher if you have any other questions. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. So 12 to 1, like during that rest time, is when you can also have an interview with the teacher, which is more like in-depth time, one-on-one, where you can really ask some questions that are coming up for you as you're working through the technique in the course. And I did that like twice because I just have some issues with like focusing just on myself. Even with the noble silence, I was very much aware of everyone around me, and I was kind of having problems tuning in to just worrying about me, which is kind of the whole point of going to this thing. So that was like bubbling up for me as something to be aware of, and it was very helpful to have the teacher there to like kind of help me through that little blip and just bring it back to myself. And then at 9:30 to 10, you're supposed to just go back to your room and go to sleep and start it all over the next day. And that's what happens for 10 full days. You get to talk of the first few hours when you get there, and then you get to talk on day 10 at 10 a.m., 10:10. And then after that, you do stay that whole extra, there's like a half, like you stay that whole day talking, and then the next day, which is like day 11 technically, you leave. We left by like 8:30 in the morning, and we had to do like cleanup, and there's like just, you know, there's a couple meals, and it's just like a little bit more chill and laid back. So yeah, I don't really want to like go too far into like what the technique is, but I will say this, it's kind of a body scanning type of meditation technique. But I really enjoyed going in without knowing anything about it, because it was like a gift to like each day kind of see and not know what to expect and see what we're learning each day, because they start simple and kind of build up. So I don't really want to get into any crazy details about what the technique is like, because I think it's really special to just be able to experience it yourself while you're there. But if you have any other questions about my experience, I would really love to answer them, so you can just put them in the comments. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day and enjoyed this video. Thank you so much.